Hello, and welcome to the Brenton Peck Podcast. It has now been a little over 2 months since I took on this endeavor of doing the podcast. I thought now would be a good time to go over some of the things I've learned and some of the challenges I've faced. I ask my guests often what they've faced and the stories they've walked through, and I thought I should share some of mine. I've faced several challenges as I've been learning. In episode 1, when I first started, I didn't know that there were audio levels, target loudness that I should be hitting. And so the first episode ended up too quiet. I've learned by episodes 2 and 3, I figured that out and started getting more consistent with audio quality. Episode 5 with Gigi, I recorded for 3 hours and then didn't edit right away. I should have checked things sooner. I found out during editing, I had not turned her mic on. And so I had to try and salvage audio using the audio from the phone. And it turned out okay, but it wasn't the audio quality I would have liked. But you learn and keep moving forward. Now I check my mics every time. Episode 9, this episode, I realized I had gone 2 weeks without really reaching out to anybody to schedule guests, and so I had no guest for this week. So, learning from that, I've created a spreadsheet to help keep me more consistent, to help me remember and stay on track and make sure I don't have gaps in where I have people scheduled. I'm also going to try and get 2 to 3 episodes ahead, so that if something comes up, I don't have to struggle. I have something that I can still post. But even though I don't have anything for this week, I wanted to stay consistent because one of the things I've learned is consistency beats talent every time. I may not be the most talented at this, especially at the start. I don't think anyone is just completely natural, gifted, perfect when they start. But through consistency, through practice, we get good. There's the concept of mastery after 10,000 hours. And the only way to get there is putting in those consistent reps, putting in your time and practice. And so I'm going to stay consistent, even when I don't feel like it, even when it's a struggle. I've learned a lot of other things. I'm trying to build a whole ecosystem. You know, the main podcast is living in video form on YouTube, but I also upload it to Spotify in video format. And then I have an RSS feed from there that turns it into audio only and sends that out to a couple other platforms. But I didn't have that at the start. There's layers that I keep adding on top. I've learned that to grow the podcast, one of the best things you can do is spend 90% of your time on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, doing clips of the show. That's where you get a lot of extra reach to introduce the show to people. Takes a lot of time, though. I have a lot of other platforms. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on X. I even started a Pinterest. And when I started, I thought I could just post the same thing everywhere. And I've learned fairly quickly, each platform has its own voice. And even though it could be the same person scrolling, like I could be scrolling Facebook, and then I could switch to TikTok, or I could switch to LinkedIn. My habits, my expectations, what I'm looking to get out of what I'm viewing changes depending on the platform. Your mindset isn't the same when you're scrolling LinkedIn as it is TikTok. And so as a creator, when I'm designing, when I'm choosing clips, when I'm trying to figure out how to post on those platforms, I need to be better aware of the mindsets people have when they're within that app. And so we're learning to edit TikToks differently than we are YouTube Shorts, and that Facebook Reels should be different. When I first started the podcast, I hadn't touched TikTok in 5 years. So there's a lot of learning just even how to use the app. The first couple TikToks I posted, I had edited in DaVinci Resolve, and I had just put multiple lines of the captions, subtitles on it, and just had it static and kind of timed it out. Those TikToks got 1 to 5 views each at most. And come to find out, that's because TikTok relies on putting captions on within the TikTok app itself, or something like CapCut, because it reads all those captions as SEO, so it knows how to categorize your video to put it in front of the correct audience. So there's constant mistakes that we make and we learn and we grow, but I wouldn't get anywhere unless I was acting on those, taking that first step. Step out, try something, learn from it, and iterate. There is no success without failures. And so I know it's a struggle. I tend to really want perfectionism, but the only way I'm going to learn is by making mistakes. And I'm learning to view failure as the most information-rich environment I can live in. So I welcome those failures. I'm having to move quick, make mistakes, and just learn. Now we've had a TikTok hit over 5,000 views and consistently get between 300 and 1,000 views. So we've made a step up since those first ones. I know there's still a lot more growth. I don't want to say I'm not happy. I'm happy with where we're at, but I'm never content. I always want to get better. And so I'm always looking to that next level. What else can I learn? What else am I not aware of? How can I make this better? At the start of the podcast, I didn't have Pinterest. I started that maybe 2 episodes ago. Come to find out, we hadn't been making quote cards, taking quotes from our guests and making them into a picture with text on it as a quote card. Those can live on Pinterest, which is a completely different ecosystem than, say, TikTok or YouTube Shorts. Those videos on TikTok, YouTube Shorts last, maybe a week or something, and then they kind of fade off. Pinterest starts the opposite. You put it out there and it might not get views for months, but it continues to grow a lot over time. And so 6 months from now, quotes from my guests early on can start to grow and point people back. So we started the Pinterest and started making quote cards. And then we realized, some of those quote cards could go out to like Facebook. Sometimes pictures get more views than reels on Facebook. Sometimes the reels get more views. But we just try something, iterate, see how it does, and double down on what works and stop doing what doesn't. I decided I wanted a website, and I had been intimidated, thinking website was going to be expensive, that it was going to take a lot of time, and come to find out, you can get a website domain. There's 2 parts, building the website and then purchasing your domain. The domain didn't cost all that much. And I found out you could do a Google Sites for free. It doesn't have a ton of extra features, but I don't need that at the start. So I was able to start quick, easy. I had a website up in under a day. And then it's just small weekly maintenance to post the new episodes to it every week. I've also learned life happens. And so make use of scheduling. Consistency matters when trying to get through building, getting new audience, getting consistency in the algorithm so it knows what to expect from you. And when life happens, sometimes that gets forgotten and dropped. My goal has been 2 shorts or TikToks or Facebook Reels, 2 of those every day. And there's been times I haven't posted for 5 or 6 days just because life happened and I ran out of time to do it or forgot about it. But I found out most of the platforms, you can create all the content in one go and then schedule it out. So I'm trying to get better at scheduling and just have that ready to go, do it ahead of time. That way, if life happens, something comes up, it's going to post for me. I already did the work. With that, you can't really procrastinate. As soon as you're able to do something, hop on it, get it done. With that scheduling, then it's out of sight, out of mind. but it stays consistent and you don't have to worry about it. The danger there that I ran into is that when I scheduled it, then I got to the next week and I hadn't been in a habit of posting, and so I didn't get some of the content ready. So I started building a content calendar for myself. I have it just mapped out in like an Excel spreadsheet. This is what I need to do on what days. And so I can plan it out, get it all built and ready, and schedule it, but then still have my schedule set so that I know I need to redo that the next week and not forget about it. Every platform is so different, and that's something I'm still learning. I can't tell you how many times I've thought something would do well to have it barely get anything. And others, I thought, this isn't going to do much. And then it's one of my best performing. Regardless, the only way you're going to know that is through consistently posting. Just getting that consistency, getting that data. When you post a lot, then you can see what works and what doesn't work. You can try out different things. And so that's what I'm starting to do. I recently learned about doing like A/B tests where you take, say, the same clip and you make some minor changes. Maybe you use a different hook. Maybe you use different effects or different music under it. Or maybe, the original clip was 30 seconds, but there's maybe a portion there that you could cut down to 20 seconds. It's the same content, but you edit it differently. And then you post both and see how they perform compared to each other. That gives a lot of data and stuff that you can see, what's performing. How do you work on the platform you're focusing on? One area I've really struggled with, I added Substack. I wanted to give more thoughtful reflections. What did I learn? What did I process? What's been going through my mind after an episode? And it's kind of like a blog. I wanted to put that out once a week, a reflection for the episode I recorded. But I have struggled with consistency for that. I got caught up and then I fell 2 weeks behind again. And so I need to add all of those back into my content calendar so that I know what's due when, and again, not procrastinate. Because if I put it off to the last minute, then it's a big struggle. One thing I've really struggled with is networking. I can't stress the importance of networking enough. I love sitting and talking to my guests, but I need to do more talking than just in this chair. The guests have so much they can share, not just their story, but quite often they know other people who have amazing stories you would never know about. And the only way you could know is talk to them. Ask, is there anyone you know with a story that would be willing to share it? I've found several guests that way that have ended up with amazing stories that I would have never known about. And I've been incredibly grateful to my guests for sharing. I think you also need to carry on the conversation beyond the episode. They do me an honor by coming on and sharing their story with me. And I want to do them the honor of carrying on that relationship. What can I give back to them? Can I make connections with people? I'm starting to learn about different nonprofits or different programs that are there to help people. And I can cross-connect my guests with each other, give them more resources and help and outreach for the things that they're passionate about. One thing I really need to work on going forward, though, is all my guests have been in person. I have lined up several guests that are willing to come on the podcast and I think have tremendous stories, but they live in a different state. And I have been overwhelmed and scared in a lot of ways to try new technology. I make excuses. The fan on my computer is too loud. My mics will pick it up. Or I just don't have time. Or, well, maybe my guest will have to set something up. And I need to get past that because I think there are some amazing stories there that need to be shared. So I'm going to spend some time researching and figuring out, what software am I going to use? How am I going to set up and meet with my guests remotely? And then I'm going to iterate, try one. I'm sure I will make mistakes, and I'll learn from them and get better, just like I did with starting episode 1. But the only way to get there is to start. There's a saying that Jocko Willink says, and he wrote a book called Discipline Equals Freedom. And that ties all the way back to consistency. When you stay disciplined instead of just acting only when you feel like it, only when you're motivated, that consistency builds mastery. That discipline does give you the freedom. When you procrastinate, you're a slave to your work. You're stuck thinking about it, dreading it. But if you're disciplined and you just get on top of it and knock it out quickly, it doesn't carry that weight in your mind. When you have that discipline to perform every single week, even when you don't feel like it, that builds up to where it becomes natural. It's not as big a challenge to face every week. There's times when I am exhausted and I don't feel like recording. But each time I record, I learn something new. It would be very easy, and I would be lying if I told you I never felt like giving up. There have been numerous times I have felt like I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making mistakes that other people wouldn't make. But the reality is, I'm not going to get better if I don't make those mistakes. So I'm going to stay consistent, posting every week. I'm going to build consistency in the areas that I've struggled with, like scheduling, getting guests lined up, writing my Substack reflections. Each one of these pieces, I'm going to continue to get better in. I'm going to grow. And hopefully I add value more and more each time I do an episode. I firmly believe that stories matter, that we learn through narrative, that we learn through people's stories faster than we can analyze them. We resonate with people's stories, what they've walked through. We can pick up on values, on morals, on all of that faster in a story than we can articulate it analytically. And so I want to continue to share those stories. I want to share people's journeys, the challenges they've faced, how they overcame them, because I believe that gives hope. I believe that gives community. When we think we're the only one facing something, that's isolating. That's shameful. That makes us want to shut down. But when we can see other people have walked through what we're going through and come out the other side, that's freeing. That gives hope. When we can learn from what they did, whether it's mistakes they've made, or learn from the things that they did that made it better or easier, all of that helps us. With that in mind, there's other skills I know I need to learn. I need to be a better interviewer. And so to do that, I'm going to study other people who have been amazing at interviewing, at pulling out people's stories, at pulling out the underlying values and ecosystems, archetypes, story patterns, the journeys people have walked. That's a skill that I need to learn, and I'm going to study. I think there is way more than I could ever possibly learn. And so I'm excited to learn. It's not something I can ever run out of. I can't use that space up. I love learning. I love the ideas. But even more, I like sharing that. There was a long time where I consumed just to consume. I'd read books or watch TV shows, but I wouldn't do anything with it. And I'd move on to the next one before I could even remember what it was. Now I'm learning intentionally, and I want to share that learning. You know you've mastered something when you start teaching it to other people, because there's a lot that we can't articulate. We think we understand, but as soon as you start to try to articulate it, you realize there's gaps in your understanding. And so part of this journey for me is learning to articulate the things that I'm actually learning, so that those ideas cement in my head, so that I can build on them and grow instead of consuming. I don't want it to go in one ear and out the other. I want to build on it. So I hope you've enjoyed what I've done so far. I hope you'll walk alongside me as I continue to grow. I would always appreciate any feedback or thoughts from you. I value those highly. I believe you don't know what you don't know. We all have blind spots, and the feedback I get from my viewers is of tremendous value to me. I want to know how I can improve. I want to know what's working, what's not. I want to know, are there things I should be doing? Are there things I should not be doing? Or even in the example I gave earlier, are there guests who have stories that I'm not aware of that I should interview? How can I connect with people better? What kind of stories do you want to hear? What resonates with you? What makes you just kind of cringe? All of that is incredibly helpful to me, and in turn will help me provide better podcast interviews and episodes for you. So with that, thank you for watching the Brenton Peck Podcast, and I look forward to talking to you next week.